Okay, so another update video, but this one we're going further back than what's happening in Thailand, and that's back to the Club Q shooting. So, the shooter who killed 5 people and injured 19 others at an LGBTQ plus club that was a refuge in the conservative city of Colorado Springs pleaded guilty to federal hate crimes and was sentenced to 55 life terms in prison on Tuesday, but once again declined to apologize or say anything to the victims' families. Interesting that he pled guilty because this was how many years ago? And this is only happening now? But anyway, prosecutors nevertheless highlighted the importance of Anderson Lee Aldrich being forced to take responsibility for the hatred toward LGBTQ plus people that they say motivated the mass shooting. As part of a plea agreement, Aldrich repeatedly admitted on Tuesday to evidence of hate. Well, it's nice to know he admitted it, but yeah. The admission that these were hate crimes is important to the government, and it's important to the community of Club Q, said prosecutor Allison Konofty. Aldrich attacked a place that was much more than a bar, according to Konofty, who described Club Q as a safe space for people in the LGBTQ plus community. And that could be said for pretty much any gay bar. But anyway, we met people who said, "This venue saved my life and I was able to feel normal again," she said. The sentence against Aldrich sends a message that acts of hate will be met with severe consequences. Aldrich, 24, wow, what a way to destroy your life, is already serving life in prison after pleading guilty to state charges last year. Maybe that's why he pled guilty to the federal charges, because he was like, yeah, I'm already spending the rest of my life in prison without ever getting out, so what's a few more lifetimes? Federal prosecutors focused on proving that the November 19th, 2022 attack at the Haven for LGBTQ plus people was premeditated and fueled by bias. Wow, it's only been 2 years? It simultaneously doesn't feel like it's been a long time and feels like it was forever ago. U.S. District Judge Charlotte Sweeney, the first openly gay federal judge in Colorado, heard heart-wrenching testimony from victims before accepting the agreement, which also includes a total of 190 years on gun charges and other counts. Not that I'm complaining, but what kind of a plea deal is this? I mean, what? What's happening here? Did I read that correctly, that this was a plea deal? I'm very, very confused. Several of the survivors said they wanted the death penalty. Fair. But Sweeney explained that capital punishment had not been sought by prosecutors and would need to have been imposed by a jury. Instead, the life sentences will mean no drawn-out appeals and no more hearings where a hate crime defendant might become a symbol. She said Aldrich will never get out of prison and will face a miserable future with a miserable end. Considering that he, shot up a place, I don't care what place it was, but they thought that shooting up a place was a good idea. He had a miserable present. He was always miserable. So, the fact that he's going to have a miserable future with a miserable end his whole life has been miserable, obviously, because anybody who hates so much that they're going to shoot up a place, yeah, they are just miserable. The survivors delivered harrowing accounts of the shooting and the fear and anguish they've lived with since then. Several called for Aldrich's execution. The father of one victim said Aldrich should be shot like a dog. You know, longtime viewers of this channel know I am not big on capital punishment. But in cases where they admit it, I would be completely fine, and yeah, I'm not going to. If he was given the death penalty, I certainly wouldn't be one of those begging for life in prison. Even though life in prison is cheaper, yeah, and I would actually feel bad if they used something that caused cruel and unusual punishment for him, because, dude, what the hell? Adriana Vance, whose son Raymond Green Vance was killed, said she wakes up screaming. All I have left of his now is the urn that I speak to every night, she said. Aldrich knows nothing but hate and deserves death, she said. Fair? Yeah, put him out of his misery. That, like I said, that's fair. One survivor, who had been celebrating a birthday and performing as a drag queen that night, expressed forgiveness for Aldrich and focused on the community's capacity to find joy despite the pain. I never understood the forgiveness thing. I mean, I forgive you for hating my guts for just existing? What are you forgiving exactly? Seriously, I just never understood that. I've had to look at my partner in a casket, attend funerals of my friends, and deal with unspeakable trauma, said Wyatt Kent. I see this person as a hurt person created by failures of systems around them designed to help. I forgive you. We, the queer community, we are the resilient ones. Well, since you put it that way, that is true. People aren't born hateful. They're taught that. So, I guess I can see what this person's talking about, but still. Aldrich, appearing in an orange prison uniform with head shaved and wrists handcuffed, faced the victims as they spoke, but declined to make his own statement when given the chance. Defense attorney David Kraut made no explicit mention of hate or bias in his comments. Kraut said there was no singular explanation for what motivated the mass shooting, but mentioned childhood trauma, an abusive mother, online extremism, drug use, and access to guns as factors that increased the risk his client would engage in extreme violence. Now, granted, taken together, that is a bad combination, but when people mention childhood trauma, an abusive mother, okay, then shoot your mother dead. Why are we going out and shooting people you don't know? And how does that lead to online extremism exactly? I don't know if is it sort of like a gang situation that you find people who propose to care about you? I just don't understand. Defense attorneys in the state case had pushed back against hate charges, arguing Aldrich was drugged with cocaine and medication. Okay. He was too drugged out of his mind to hate. Alright. In phone calls from jail with the Associated Press last year, Aldrich didn't answer directly when asked whether the attack was motivated by hate, saying only that's completely off base. Aldrich previously pleaded no contest to state hate crime charges without admitting guilt. It sounds like he wants to spend the rest of his life in prison, which, odd. Maybe he does feel a modicum of guilt, even though he's not showing it because I guess he needs to be manly or something. But maybe he does feel guilty, he just doesn't want to show it. I don't know. Kanofsky said evidence of Aldrich's hate for the LGBTQ+ community included 2 websites created by Aldrich to post hate-related content. A target found inside the defendant's house with a rainbow ring that had bullets in it, and the defendant's sharing of recordings of 911 calls from the 2016 killing of 49 people at the gay-friendly Pulse nightclub in Orlando, Florida. Gay-friendly? It was a gay bar. What are you talking about, gay-friendly? It was a gay bar. Okay, so yeah, we have evidence that he hated the LGBT+ community. Interesting that he doesn't actually want to explicitly admit it. Again, does he think he's being macho or something? Aldrich also studied other mass shootings, accumulated weapons, shared an online manifesto from a mass shooter who referred to being transgender as a disease, and coordinated a spam email campaign against a former work supervisor who is gay, the prosecutor said. Okay, so yeah, he totally hated the LGBT+ community. That's definitely been established. Prosecutors said Aldrich spent over $9,000 on weapons-related purchases from dozens of vendors between September 2020 and the attack. Right, but we don't need to update our gun laws. No, that's not necessary. A hand-drawn map of Club Q with an entry and exit point marked was found inside of Aldrich's apartment, along with a black binder of training material entitled How to Handle an Active Shooter. So, if the defense is right, and he was drugged up, then he was probably using it as courage to actually do the deed, rather than he was on drugs so he didn't know what he was doing. Because, yeah, this is 100% premeditated. Unless there was something else going on and you wanted to hang out there, or you dreamt of hanging out there. And the reason I'm saying that will be immediately obvious. Defense attorneys in the state case said Aldrich is non-binary and uses they/them pronouns. So, if true that this person is non-binary, then jealousy, because we've already seen when the case first happened that their father didn't like gay people. So it could be jealousy that, look at all these people being able to live their lives the way they want, and I'm stuck with shitty parents. A state prosecutor called that an effort to avoid responsibility for hate crimes. Which is possible. I mean, I don't know what was the motivation. You know, what was said that prompted Aldrich to say that they are non-binary. Yes, this case is slowly coming back to me. Ashton Gamblin, who worked the front door of Club Q and was shot 9 times, told the AP that a true member of the LGBTQ plus community would know about the discrimination and mental health challenges its members face and wouldn't attack such a sanctuary. Exactly. Instead of attacking it, even if they weren't aware of resources to help them deal with the fact that they have a shitty dad, go there and, I don't know, talk to people? I'm not sure. I can see why people are questioning Aldrich saying that they are non-binary. I mean, I can totally understand why they would question that. Because instead of shooting up the place, you should go in, try and make some friends, make some contacts, find out how to deal with your situation, instead of shooting the place up. Unless you are so self-loathing and hate yourself that much that you hate other people who you should be identifying with. Aldrich visited the club at least 8 times before returning in a tactical vest and carrying an AR-15 style rifle, first killing a person in the entryway and then shooting at bartenders and customers before targeting people on the dance floor. So, that also goes against what Aldrich claims of being non-binary, because it sounds like those times he went there was just to do surveillance, as opposed to, talking to people, possibly getting help. I mean, you could just tell your dad that that's what you're doing, that you're doing surveillance. I mean, I honestly have no idea. I want to use they, them pronouns because Aldrich claims to be non-binary, but at the same time, I can see why people are calling it bullshit. The defendant was prepared to inflict the maximum amount of damage in the minimum amount of time, Knofty said, adding that Aldrich fired 60 rounds in less than a minute. A Navy officer grabbed the rifle barrel, burning his hand, and an Army veteran helped subdue Aldrich until police arrived. Thankfully, there were people there to help, and notice no gun was needed in order to subdue them. There had been a chance to prevent such violence. Aldrich was arrested in June 2021, accused of threatening their grandparents and vowing to become the next mass killer. Yeah, that's not a red flag at all. While stockpiling weapons, body armor, and bomb-making materials, but Aldrich's mother and grandparents refused to cooperate, and prosecutors failed to serve subpoenas to family members that could have kept the case alive, so the charges were eventually dismissed. My question is, why would Aldrich's mother and grandparents not cooperate? I mean, this is an obvious cry for help. Why did you not stop him? He said he wants to become the next mass killer. Why refuse to cooperate? And why did prosecutors not serve subpoenas to other family members who would be willing to help out? That is just so tragic, because Aldrich gave you the red flag that society needed, that his family needed to know that this person was dangerous. Why did nothing happen? Aldridge was sentenced Tuesday under the Matthew Shepard and James Byrd Jr. Hate Crimes Prevention Act, which expanded federal law in 2009 to include crimes motivated by sexual orientation, gender identity, or disability. I'm sure the shooter thinks he took our spirit that night, said Ed Sanders, who was shot in the back and leg. You cannot destroy our community by killing individuals. You can't kill our love and spirit. Which is the whole purpose of Pride to begin with. To show people like that you can't kill the community's love and spirit. Because that is what Stonewall was all about. The police tried to squash Stonewall, and they got their asses handed to them. So anyway, that is the end of the article. And with that, I believe I've covered everything I wanted to on this story. So I will see you guys in the next video.